An entrepreneur sees what they want and they set out to get it. A non-entrepreneur sees the things that prevent them from getting what they want. And that's the difference. That's the difference. At the end of the day, an entrepreneur is a problem solver. They are not turned off by long lines. They are not turned off by things that will get in the way. They are not turned off by things that will make things difficult. They see what they want and they find a way to get it. They don't do it in a way that hurts anybody. They don't do it in a way that denies anybody else their desire to get what they want. They don't judge others for doing it the other way. They might make them uncomfortable, but they don't judge them. But they get what they want, but first, they have to know what they want. And the question is, what do you want? You want to build a business? You need employees. If you have employees, you have people who are going to help your business. Think about it. At the end of the day, you're asking them to help build your dream. You're asking them to come on board and help you get what you want. Even if they're not employees, they're just friends, supporters. Why should they help you? This is what it means to be a leader. So let's define a leader. What is a leader? A leader is just that. It's one who leads. But a leader, to be a leader, must have followers. You're not a leader unless there are those who volunteer to follow you. You cannot force someone to follow you. They have to choose to follow you. Whether they're customers or employees, friends, investors, supporters, they choose, they volunteer to help you get what you want. Why should they? Why should they bother? What leaders do is they inspire people to be a part of what they're doing. They inspire people to follow in the direction that they're going. At the end of the day, there are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can either manipulate it or you can inspire it. Those are your options. We all know how manipulation works. Manipulation in business, right? You drop your price low enough, people will do business with you. This is the concept behind a sale. Things are priced to move. It works. It's manipulative. Promotions, 2 for 1, free toy inside. Or if you're in the B2B space, we call it value added. Same idea. It's a promotion. It's giving stuff away for free to reduce someone's risk so they'll choose you over the competition. We see manipulation a lot in marketing. Fear. Wonderful manipulator. Any parents in the audience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Fear is a wonderful manipulator. You can get people to do all kinds of things. We're often told you have to be aspirational. Yes, it's good to be positive, but it's still a manipulation. I like to joke that you can get people to join the gym with an aspirational message, but to get them to go 3 days a week, that requires a little bit of inspiration. Or what a lot of organizations like to call innovation. It's really novelty. Right? Because real innovation changes the course of industries, of not society. The fax machine, the microwave, the light bulb, iTunes, that's real innovation. Adding a camera to your cell phone, wonderful feature, not an innovation. It is stressful to be a consumer these days. It is stressful to try to decide what to buy when you are bombarded day after day with manipulation from all kinds of organizations. Which TV should I buy? Which cell phone company should I go with? Which IT solution should I get for my office? It's called stress. It's stressful to be a seller as well, however. In the face of bombardment of manipulation and manipulation, that's the marketplace. How do you get your message to stand out? How do you get your message heard? Why should anyone listen to you? This is the world we live in today. It's called stress. Again, I cannot dispute that every one of those manipulations work. They do. That's why companies use them. The problem is, none of them breed loyalty. There's an alternative. It's called inspiration. And there are a few leaders and a few organizations that rely vastly more on inspiration than manipulation. I'll talk about some of the big ones. We know who they are. Apple Computers, Southwest Airlines, Harley Davidson, Virgin. Every single one of these organizations, these leaders, those with the ability to inspire, they have the most loyal employees. They have the most loyal customers. They can charge a premium if they want to. They're more profitable. They're more innovative, my definition. And most importantly, they can sustain all these things for the long term. What I discovered is that regardless of their size and regardless of their industry, every single one of these organizations with the capacity to inspire They all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was write it down, and it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Imagine, if you will, 3 concentric circles, a bullseye. In the middle is the word why, in the center ring is the word how, and the outside ring is the word what. It's this little idea that distinguishes those with the capacity to inspire versus everyone else. Let me define the terms really quickly, starting from the outside in. Every single organization on the planet knows what they do. These are the products you sell or the services you offer. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your USP or your proprietary process. It's the things that you think make you special or different or better than your competition. But very, very few people and very, very few organizations can clearly state why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make money. That's a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose, what's your cause, what's your belief? Why does your company exist? Why did you get out of bed this morning? And why should anyone care? As a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. We tell people what we do, we tell them how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, support. But not the inspired leaders, not the inspired organizations. Regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, every single one of them thinks, acts, and communicates from the inside out. They all start with why. Let me give you an example. I use Apple a lot because they're easy to understand and we all get it. If Apple were like everyone else, a piece of marketing from them, for example, would sound like this. They would say what they do. We make great computers. How do they do it? They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? That's normal. That's how most organizations talk to us. Here's our new car. It's got tinted windows, great gas mileage, leather seats. Choose us. Here's our law firm. Our lawyers went to all the best schools. We won all of our cases. Choose us. But not the inspired leaders, not Apple. They start with why. Here's how they actually communicate. Everything we do, they say, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different. Totally different. No trickery, no manipulations, no celebrity endorsements. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it starts to show us is that it's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply serves as the tangible proof of what you believe. This is the reason why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. We're perfectly comfortable with the idea that Apple makes MP3 players and phones and DVRs. Newsflash. Apple is just a company, that's all they are. It's a corporate structure. They have some good products and some bad ones. All of their competitors have equal and open access to the same resources, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media, the same talent. It is a zero-sum game. Every single one of their competitors is equally qualified to make every product that Apple makes. And yet, how is it that this one company has an unbalanced amount of influence, an unbalanced ability to innovate, an unbalanced amount of profitability, an unbalanced amount of loyalty amongst their customers and in their employees? The difference is they haven't defined themselves by what they do, they've defined themselves by why they do it, and what they do simply serves as the tangible proof of what they believe. Dell is a good company that makes good products and is every little bit qualified to make every product that Apple makes. A few years ago, they came out with PDAs and MP3 players, and nobody bought one. Why would we buy an MP3 player from a computer company? It doesn't make sense. But we do it every day. The difference is Dell has defined themselves by what they do, and Apple has defined themselves by why they exist. For this little idea to work, you have to have 3 things. 1, you have to know why you do what you do. If you don't know why you do what you do, how will anyone else? 2, you have to have discipline of how. You have to hold yourself and your people accountable to your values and your guiding principles. And thirdly, you have to have consistency of what. Everything you say and everything you do, everything must prove what you believe. At the end of the day, a why is just a belief. That's all it is. Hows are the actions we take to realize that belief, and what's are the results of those actions, the things we say, the things we do, our products and services and marketing, etc. And if what you say and what you do doesn't show what you believe, then no one will know what you believe. This is the concept behind authenticity. I'm tired and bored of people standing on stages telling us all we have to be authentic. How do you implement authenticity? If you would, when you go back to your office, a little more authenticity in everything you do. Appreciate it. Thanks. No clue. What authenticity means is that the things you say and the things you do, you actually believe. This is caveman stuff. The reason the human race is so successful is not because we're the strongest. It's not even because we're the smartest. It's because we're social animals. It's because we have the ability to form cultures and communities. What's a culture? What's a community? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. What's a company? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. Our need to be amongst people who believe what we believe, is essential. Our survival depends on it. We cannot survive by ourselves out in the wilderness. It is our communities that protect us and look after us and are the reason the human race succeeds. When you are surrounded by people who believe what you believe, something remarkable happens. Trust emerges. Make no mistake of it, trust is a feeling. It is a human experience. Simply doing everything you promise you're going to do does not mean people will trust you. It just means you're responsible. We all have friends who are total screw-ups, and yet we still trust them. Trust is a feeling, and it comes from that common set of values and beliefs. And when you are surrounded by people who trust you and you trust them, you're more likely to take a risk, you're more likely to explore, you're more likely to innovate, you're more likely to leave the cave to go hunting saber-toothed tigers with the confidence that those in your community will look after your stuff and protect your children while you're gone. Your survival depends on your ability to form trust, and trust can only be formed when you're surrounded by people who believe what you believe, and you can only be surrounded by people who believe what you believe if you know why you do what you do. How many of you either love your Macintosh computer or know somebody who loves their Macintosh computer? Okay, good bunch of you. You can always tell people who love their Macs because when you try and convince them that they actually bought substandard computers, they start foaming at the mouth. Rationally speaking, Apples are substandard. They are. They're at least 25% more expensive, sometimes double the price of their PC counterparts. There's less software, there's fewer peripherals, and I know because I switched to a Mac, they are absolutely slower than PCs. Substandard. And yet people who buy them don't even compare to the competition. They don't do market research and try and figure out which is the best computer. They've decided they're only going to get a Mac. And they buy them over and over and over again. And there are young kids living on cup of noodles because they can't afford anything more, and yet it's totally okay to spend $2,000 on a laptop. This doesn't make sense. There's something deeper. There's something deeper happening here. Apple stands for something. The people who are drawn to Apple, the people who believe in the same things that Apple believes, do so not because the computer is rationally better, it's because it becomes a symbol, one of the things that they do that reflects their own beliefs. Every decision we make in our lives as individuals or organizations is a piece of communication. It tells the outside world something about who we are. It's the way we get the word out. There are people who walk around with Harley-Davidson logos on their bodies. It's a corporate logo. Some of them don't even own the product. But it's no longer a logo. Because Harley is so clear in why they do what they do and what they believe, and they're so disciplined in how they do it, and they're so consistent in what they do, what ends up happening is everything they say and everything they do, their products, their logos, become symbols. Symbols of a set of values and beliefs. And the person who puts that Harley logo there, it's nothing to do with the motorcycle. They're telling you something about who they are. This is the reason why people with Apple laptops love opening their laptops on airports. They want everybody to see. And you'll never see somebody with an Apple laptop put a big tiger print sticker over the top of their computer. It'll never happen. Take a PC, we don't care what computer you're using, and you put stickers all over it, make it pretty. Never. It's a piece of communication. The clearer you are about what you believe, the more disciplined you are about how you do things, and the more consistent you are in what you do, everything you say and everything you do then becomes a symbol for that set of values and beliefs. It's biology. It's biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain looking from the top down, the human brain evolved into 3 major areas that corresponds with this little idea. The outside area, the what level, is our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, called our neocortex. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle 2 sections, why and how, make up our limbic brains. Our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, you can't ask your customers, why do you do business with us? They can't tell you. The part of the brain that controls behavior does not control language. And so we rationalize price, service, quality, features, right? But if you invest all your money in price, service, quality, and features, how come you don't win all the customers? And how come sometimes when you're not the best price, service, quality, or features, you still have loyal customers? There's something deeper going on. This is the reason when you ask those people who love their Macs, why do you love your Mac? They can't tell you. Well, you see, I'm the kind of person who likes to challenge the status quo. And so it's very important for me to surround myself with the people and the products and the brands that prove to the outside world who I believe I am. Biologically, that's what happened. But it happened in the part of the brain that controls feelings, but not language. The part of the brain that controls decision-making. And so they rationalize. It's the user interface. It's the simplicity. It's the design. I'm a creative person, whatever that means. It's the same for us. It's the same for in other circumstances. Why do you love your husband? Why do you love your wife? That's a difficult question. Why do you love your wife? I don't know. That's usually where most people start, right? And then they start rationalizing. She's fun. She's always been there for me. I can count on her. Sounds like a golden retriever. And those aren't necessarily the conditions for marriage. My sister says of my brother-in-law, I love this. It's supposed to be a compliment. My sister says of my brother-in-law, I never imagined I'd marry a guy like him. What she's saying is when I was younger and I made a checklist of all the things that I wanted in my future husband, what, he has none of them. But I love him. And I want to have children with him. And I want to spend the rest of my life with him. It's not rational. We just think it's rational. And again, the part of the brain that controls behavior and decision-making and feelings doesn't control language. This is where gut decisions come from. This is why we say, I don't know, it just felt right. Why do we use the verb to feel to describe a decision? It's because the part of the brain that controls feelings controls decision-making. That's why. There is no part of your stomach that controls decision-making. And it didn't happen in your blood, and it's not in your bones, and you're not following your heart. We ascribe it to all different parts of the body because we can't find the words. It just feels right. And we all know that those are higher quality decisions anyway. When all you can give are the facts and figures as to why you should or shouldn't do something, the highest level of confidence you can give is, I think this is the right decision. That would be biologically accurate. But we all know there are decisions we make in our lives that I know the facts and figures say that we should do that. Just doesn't feel right, though. And you ask the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, what's your secret? They all say the same thing, trusted my gut. Trusted my gut. And when things didn't go well, I knew I should have trusted my gut. Problem is, it's not scalable. Not scalable. We all have the innate ability to find people who believe what we believe. Our survival depends on it. We are human animals. We know how to do this. If I ask you to go out in the street and find all the people who believe what you believe, you know exactly what to do. You're going to go up to somebody and you're going to strike up a conversation. Maybe you have good chemistry, right? Maybe you have to talk to them a little longer. And you'll get a feeling for them and it'll either be right or wrong, right? It's called dating. It's called making friends. It's called interviewing. We know how to do this. We know how to do this. It's not scalable. But if I asked you to go out on the street and find all the people wearing red hats, easy. There's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Instantaneously, you can find the people who believe what you believe because they're putting out symbols of their own beliefs. You people who love your Apple computers, don't lie to me. I know when you're walking through the airport and you see some 16-year-old sitting on the floor, on her Mac laptop, you walk past and you go, hey. Why'd you do that? Leave her alone. Some stranger just said hi to me, tweet. It's because when you see that symbol, that apple, that glowing apple, you're like, oh. How many of you are from the Las Vegas area? Anybody? A couple of you. Okay, are you friends with everybody from Las Vegas? Why not? But when you go to Texas and somebody says, I'm from Las Vegas, you're like, hey, I'm from Las Vegas. And you're best friends. And when you're in France and you're on vacation and you happen to hear an American accent, and you go, hey, where are you from? We're from Texas. We're from Las Vegas. And you're best friends. And the reason is because the most basic human desire on the planet is to feel like we belong. Our survival depends on it. And when we are in an environment where we know we don't belong, we seek out anyone who may have some of the same values and beliefs that we have so we can form trust. We can rely on each other, watch each other's backs, simply because we share the same values and beliefs. And as you get closer and closer and closer, you want to find those people who believe what you believe. Knowing what you believe means that you can look for the symbols. That Apple logo says something. That Harley Davidson logo says something. And you're either drawn to it or repelled by it. This is good. Leadership is when you have the ability to stand on the street corner and put on your own red hat and simply stand there and go, I got a red hat. I got a red hat. I got a red hat. And all the other people walking past, even though they can't see their own red hats, even though they don't know their why, they're eerily drawn to you. They're eerily drawn to you. There's an inextricable link between leadership and communication. Those who lead are the ones who can clearly communicate what they believe, and those who can clearly communicate what they believe are the ones who lead. And the reason is simple. Is because when you talk about what you believe and you put your beliefs and your values in clear words or symbols, consistent enough, authentic enough that I know that everything you say and do represents what you believe, I will be drawn to you for myself, for my own survival. Doing business with you, working for you, being your friend says something about who I am. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. People who believe what you believe will work for you with blood and sweat and tears. People who don't believe what you believe work for your money. The same is true for customers. Those who believe what you believe will go out of their way to do business with you. Those who don't believe what you believe just want it cheaper. There's a huge difference between repeat business and loyalty. Repeat business means I'm willing to do business with you over and over and over again. Loyalty means I'm willing to turn down a better product at a better price, maybe even suffer inconvenience to continue to do business with you. The ones who you just happen to meet some price standard, you happen to meet some rational objectives that they're looking for, they'll do business with you anyway if you happen to meet them. Why would you ever focus on trying to appease them? They come and go. It's the loyal ones. The people who believe what you believe, the ones who stick with you through thick and thin, because doing business with you says more about them than it does about you. Those are the ones that matter most. And the reason is simple. It's because of something called the law of diffusion of innovations, the bell curve. If you don't know the law of diffusion, you definitely know the terminology. If you look at the bell, what it says is the first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are our early majority. The next 34% are our late majority. And the last 16% at the end of the bell are our laggards. The only reason the laggards buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all fit at various times for various reasons across this scale. What the law of diffusion tells us is that early adopter and innovator population, the left side of the bell, right? The early adopter and innovator side of the population, they're very comfortable trusting their guts. They're very comfortable making intuitive decisions. And they're willing to pay premiums and suffer inconvenience to be a part of something that reflects their beliefs. These are the people that that stood in line for 6 hours to buy iPhones when they first came out, even though you could just walk into the store the following week and just buy one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 or $50,000 on flat-screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. It had nothing to do with the technology. It had to do with them. They wanted to be first. People who bought iPhone 4s, why couldn't they just keep their phone in their pocket? When the phone rings, answer the phone, and when they're off the phone, put it away? No. I got one. Did you get one? You didn't get one? I got one. They have to show you. The reason they have to show you is because they're telling you something about who they are. And other people who got one first, then they're like, oh, you got one too? Me too. Look, isn't it cool? Look. You both have one. Why do you have to compare? It's because that common set of values and beliefs. You found somebody like you. This is good. This is good. Right? That's that early adopter and innovator population. They're willing to pay a premium or suffer inconvenience to be a part of something that reflects their beliefs. Now, the rest of the world, the majority, is absolutely more cynical and more practical. Absolutely. They absolutely care more about things like price and quality and service and features. Absolutely. The problem is, according to the law of diffusion, you cannot have mass market success or mass market acceptance for an idea until you've achieved 15 to 18% market penetration. That is the tipping point. And the reason is because the early majority, that first 34%, will not try something until someone else has tried it first. This is the reason we have to drop our price and offer promotions and offer value added, because we have to reduce their risk to do business with us. The innovator and the early adopters happily pay premiums and suffer inconvenience to do business with you. The goal is to get to that tipping point. It's easy. Law of averages says you can get 10%. I promise you right now, you have 10% who are loyal. How do we describe them? They just get it. Don't know what that means. Get what? What's it? Oh, you know those other guys. That guy. He doesn't get it. That's how we describe them. It's like gut feelings. Get what? How do you find the people who get it before you do business with them? How do you identify the its? How do you find the people wearing the red hats before you waste all your time and energy? You talk about what you believe. Give you two examples, a famous failure and a famous success. First, the famous failure. TiVo. If you ask most companies, why did your product fail or why did your company fail, they usually give you some combination of the same few reasons, right? Undercapitalized, didn't have enough money, that's a big one. Bad market conditions, we had the wrong people, poorly executed. That pretty much explains every failure there is, some combination of those factors. Which means if you have all of those, it means you should be instantaneously successful, right? Okay. So, TiVo. TiVo was introduced into the marketplace about 9 or 10 years ago. From the day it was introduced to this current day, it is the single best quality product on the market. Hands down, undisputed. Its technology is way beyond any other DVR system. The best. Execution, flawless. Venture capital, up the wazoo. Money, no problem. Brilliant engineers on board, they had good people. Market conditions, remarkable. The unaided awareness of TiVo is through the roof. We use TiVo as a verb. I TiVo stuff on my piece of junk cable DVR, right? And if you want to throw in first mover's advantage, throw that in too, because they had that as well. TiVo is a commercial and financial failure. They've never made money. And when their stock went public, it launched at about $40 or $50, very quickly plummeted, and except for a couple of little blips, has never traded above $10. TiVo is a commercial and financial failure. And the reason is because when they launched this brilliant product, they attempted to tell the mass, the majority, what their product does. They said to the majority, we have a product that pauses live TV, skips commercials, memorizes your viewing habits, and records on your behalf without you even asking. And the cynical, practical majority said, I don't need it. I don't like it. I don't believe you. You're scaring me. So they didn't buy one. A few did. A few early adopters did. 10%. You know, to this day, they love their TiVos. But it wasn't enough to make the system tip, you see. Now imagine if TiVo had told that left side, that those early adopters and those innovators, that they had just talked about why the product even exists. Imagine if they have said, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. It pauses live TV, it skips commercials, it memorizes your viewing habits and records on your behalf without you even asking. In this instance, what the product does serves as the tangible proof of why it exists. It is not the reason you use to convince people to do business with you in the first place. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, and what you do serves as the tangible proof of what you believe. Your company is one of the things that you're doing in your life that proves who you are. The more you talk about what you believe, the more you talk about what you actually believe, the more likely you are to attract people who believe what you believe. And they will help you because they want to, because they trust you. Here's another example, my favorite one. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King give his famous I Have a Dream speech. There were no invitations sent out, and there's no website to check the date. How do you do that? How many emails did you get just to show up here today? I got 7. Dr. King was not the only man in America who knew what had to change to bring about civil rights in this country. Dr. King didn't have all great ideas. Some of his ideas were bad. He was not the only man who suffered in pre-civil rights America. In fact, he suffered a little less than some because he was off at university. And he wasn't the perfect man. He had his complexities, but we just don't talk about those things. The difference is Dr. King didn't go around telling people what we need to do, what we need to do, what we need to do. He went around and told people, I believe, I believe, I believe. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own. And they told people what they believed. And those people who believed what they believed, they took that same cause and they made it their own. And they told people what they believed. And some built structures to get the word out more efficiently. And lo and behold, on the right day, on the right time, 250,000 people showed up to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about this country. It's the country that they wanted to live in. It's the country that they wanted to raise their children in, that inspired them to get on a bus, travel for 8 hours, and stand in the sun in the middle of Washington simply to hear Dr. King speak. Simply coming to the rally was one of the things they did in their lives to prove what they believe. By the way, he gave the I Have a Dream speech, not the I Have a Plan speech. It's not what you do that matters, it's why you do it. You cannot change the world or build a multi-million-dollar or multi-billion-dollar business by yourself. Unscalable, remember? You and your gut, you can do very well, not scalable. The only way to really grow is to find those who believe what you believe and are willing to work with you with blood and sweat and tears to help you get there. Do you know the story of the 2 stone layers? So these 2 stone layers, right? You go to the first one and say, how do you like your job? He says, yeah, I mean, I like my job. I've been working on this wall for as long as I can remember. The stones are heavy. The work is back-breaking. It's monotonous. I stand in the scorching hot sun all day, and I don't even know if I'm going to finish this wall in my lifetime. It's a job. It pays the bills. You go up to the second guy and say, how do you like your job? He says, I love my job. I'm building a cathedral. Sure, I've been building this wall for as long as I can remember. Sure, the stones are heavy and the work is back-breaking and I stand in the scorching hot sun all day and it's monotonous and I don't even know if I'm going to finish this wall in my lifetime, but I'm building a cathedral. What they do is exactly the same. This guy might even be a champion stone layer. The only difference is that only one of them knows why he shows up to work every day. And the guy who knows why does not see himself as any more or less important than the architect or the guy doing the stained glass windows, or the landscaper, they are all contributing to building something that they believe in that's bigger than themselves. A leader is somebody who can put into words that which does not exist yet. The leader is the one who stands there and says in beautiful, crystal clear words, and he describes that cathedral that hasn't been built in words so clear that others can take that image and they can pass it on to others. Why are you working so hard? Because I believe in it. We're building a cathedral. What cathedral? Let me tell you. Are you describing your cathedral, or you're just telling people the wall that you're building? The reason everybody showed up here is because together we're going to build a cathedral. We are all contributing to a world that we would rather live in. It's the leaders of this organization that are describing that world, a world in which we are in control of our own lives, a world in which we live the life that we believe we deserve. Shouldn't we all get that? It's the reason I showed up here. Here's a statistic for you. Over 90% of people go home feeling unfulfilled by their work. That's a real statistic. 90% don't feel fulfilled when they go home at the end of the day. I want to live in a world in which the vast majority of people love what they do. I want to live in a world in which the vast majority of people do business with companies that they trust and love, they work with people that they trust and love, and they go home happier because of it. People who go to work and love what they do come home happier people, and happier people treat their spouses better and they treat their kids better, and they go back to work happy the next day and they treat their colleagues better and they treat their customers better, and those people go home happier and they treat their kids better and their spouses better. It's called world peace. And it happens because of the likes of all of us. This is called scale. This is called scale. There are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or influence, but those who lead inspire us. And whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead not for them, but for ourselves. This is for people who want to inspire those around them, or who want to find somebody to inspire them. I can say without a doubt, you inspire me. Thank you very much.